Defeat the press. How Donald Trump's attacks on news outlets undermine the First Amendment. Now, this article from Variety, written by this journalist Todd Spangler, is absurd on its face. First of all, this article is appearing in Variety. Variety is more known for film and television news, entertainment news, things of that nature. So you're probably wondering, why in the world is Variety writing such an article? Well, what they're trying to do, it's not even what they're trying to do. It is what they're doing. They're basically bitching, moaning, and whining because Paramount and ABC, the parent company of ABC, Disney, decided to settle two lawsuits that the Trump had brought against both companies. Paramount for that absurd CBS interview that they did with the fake ass black woman, Kamala Harris. Yeah, I called her a fake ass black woman. She ain't black, but I digress on that. For manipulating that interview to make her seem more competent than what she really was. We all know that she's a word salad queen. Anything she spews out of her mouth makes absolutely zero sense. CBS News knew that. A lot of other outlets that interviewed this woman knew that. But they decided to go in there and manipulate the news, and it was so blatant. I don't have to keep going over it or anything like that because most of you are probably familiar with it. They had to manipulate it. The manipulation was so blatant that normal observers was able to call it out so easily, and Trump rightfully sued. He won that. The other one with Disney was when George Snuffleupagus, or his proper name is Stephanopoulos, decided that he wanted to just go out and call Trump a rapist. Now, Trump was never charged with any crime. He was actually defending himself against this absurd woman. I forget her name, Jean Powell or something, Jean something. You guys in the comments, you can probably correct me, against this absurd lawsuit she brought against him. And he was never found guilty of rape. He was never charged with this with the act, but George Stephanopoulos decided to call him a rapist, and Trump properly sued for defamation, and he won. This Todd Spangler and a lot of leftists in general didn't want either one to settle with Trump, and now they consider this settlement to be some type of attack on the First Amendment. As if these guys really care about the First Amendment. It's kind of funny. They had no problem with Twitter taking Trump's account away after January 6th. One of the first times ever that a sitting president was blatantly censored by a corporation. Had no problem with that. But right here, when Trump is defending himself against proper and legitimate claims, oh, no, this is an attack on the First Amendment. It's absurd on its face. Now, I'm not going to read this article. I'll leave the link in there if you guys decide to read it. But I will read this one paragraph right here. It's from a Jamil Jaffer, executive director of the Knight First Amendment Institute at Columbia University, which is sounds like nonsense. You don't need an institute on the First Amendment, by the way. You don't need anything like that. But here's his quote. Attacking the press is too weak a phrase, says Jamil Jaffer. According to Jaffer, the goal of Trump's anti-media effort appears to be to make the government the only source of information and authority in our society. It sounds crazy to say it because we have never seen this in American history. Now, this is absurd. This is once again absurd. Who was it that created a panel, or rather a task force, to monitor quote unquote misinformation, and appointed a woman who specialized in following misinformation? That would have been the Biden administration. Where was this Jamil Jaffer complaining about such a thing? See, these people are disingenuous and dishonest. They want to control your speech, but they want themselves to have unlimited speech. They want to control any type of speech that goes counter to what they have to say, but they are able to say whatever it is they want without consequence. And sitting here saying that Trump wants to make government the only source of information and authority in our society, when this Trump administration decided they wanted to go ahead and break up the monopoly that the mainstream media has, the ABCs, the CBS, NBCs, the Associated Press, Reuters, all those big names, New York Times, Washington Post, with their vaulted press seats within the White House. It was this White House that decided that you know what? We're going to open it up to other voices as well, content creators, major content creators, platforms, and get differing voices to come off in here and report on the news as well. And that is absolutely something that, if this is a government that wants to control information, they would not have done that. They would not have done that. Now, do you think any Democratic administration would do this? This is always projection on the part of the leftists. They always want to go out there and project what they themselves feel and what they actually believe. Once again, they want to control your voice while having unlimited things to say without consequence. And Trump was right to go in there and fight against these things. And here's another quote from Jon Stewart, that bastion of truth over there at the Daily Show. I think there is a lot of fear over there, fear of losing their jobs, fear of losing their country, fear of losing the First Amendment. None of those things are happening under Trump. None of it. Absolutely none of it. Maybe fear of losing their jobs because you're not being profitable. People have caught on to the bullshit that you guys have been feeding them. And in case in point right here, it's even great that it has the graph on here. This is from the New York Times. Look at the headline right there. U.S. inflation accelerated in June as Trump's tariffs pushed up prices. Look at this right here. You see you see where the CPI currently has landed right now? It's at 2.7% in June. Look at what it was in the middle of the Biden administration. This is 20 to 25. This is probably around 2022, maybe 2023. Look at that. Inflation got as high as 9%. Now, during that time, do you think the New York Times was saying that inflation accelerated? No. If you go back and look at the reporting by the New York Times, same paper, in March of 2022, look at when the inflation got up to 8.5%, and look at the headline there. U.S. inflation report. Inflation continued to worsen in March as gas and rent costs rose. Now that headline is anodyne. It's basically neutral. It doesn't make it one way or the other. Yet over here, when inflation is only 2.7%, the New York Times pushes a very inflammatory headline to try to make it seem as though Trump's tariffs is pushing up prices. Well, if Trump's tariffs are pushing up prices right here at 2.7% in June, what the hell was driving prices in March? What was that? They don't talk about what it was driving it there. This is them going in there trying to manipulate you. And a lot of people have caught onto the game. They have caught onto the game. Trump is not attacking the media. He's not undermining the First Amendment. You guys in the media have done this to yourselves. You have undermined yourselves so that people are going out and going to other places to get their news elsewhere. Me personally, I don't look at television news anymore. That includes Fox News, Newsmax, News Nation, any of the new things that came out. Don't look at any of them. I get my news from alternative sources. One of the best places I go to get news from now, and I stay real informed, is Black Conservative Perspective. Don't let the name fool you. Simply because he's black and a conservative is not the primary reasons I follow him. The primary reason I follow him is, even though he likes to give his own analysis, what he does is he will take clips from all the major news sources, from MSNBC, from CNN, from Fox News, News Nation, foreign news, articles, whatever. He will put that stuff up on the screen, let you view it for yourself. Then he will go in there and provide a political analysis. And you are free to agree with him or disagree with him. A lot of the time I agree with him because he says some shit that I agree with. But the rise of alternative news sources like Black Conservative Perspective, Brandon Tatum's another one. We don't make this a whole black thing. I get my news from a lot of places.
Yo, what's up, guys? We're here at Fort Bragg.
He's out there, got a video playing right there. Benny Johnson, get news from there. Hell, and then when I want to get other news, I go to Antoine. He'll probably like that one. Anton Daniels, another one. Millionaire Morning Show, really good place to get news. D-Day Cobra, Geeks and Gamers, Jeremy, man is gay, but hey, don't let that bother you. He's straight and to the point. And one thing that I like about D-Day Cobra, he will put the thing up there too. And he will let you look at the news and then he will give his opinion. A lot of times, this article right here from Variety, it is an opinion piece masquerading as a news article. And to close out with this, just reading. And then, by the way, Variety is very left-wing, as you can see. But let's take a look at some of the comments that were left here. From AJ, this has nothing to do with the First Amendment. ABC and CBS News made their parent companies fix the mess they made. News organizations do this all the time. In most cases, they issue an apology. Trumps want cash. Hey, that's exactly correct. He continues in another post. Remember the NBC Dateline GMC pickup truck fiasco was making up the news then, First Amendment? That I don't remember that one, but there are a lot of times when Dateline was making up stuff and passing it off as news. Did they ever get in trouble for that? Well, with the Russia hoax, will anybody get in trouble for that? New York Times won a Pulitzer for that. Did they give back the Pulitzer? Of course not. We go down here to Jamie, who says, I consume everything from MSNBC to Newsmax, and I haven't seen any quote-unquote news yet. What I am seeing is opinion. Anger, gloom, and doom opinion from the left, giddy, joyous opinion from the right, but nothing I would call news from either side. If a, quote, opinion corp is being sued, is it because they got caught crossing the line from opinion to lies? It has nothing to do with the First Amendment. That is exactly correct. That is what happened with George Stephanopoulos, who basically did a lie by commission. And that was what was done with CBS 60 Minutes, who was lying by omission. They got caught and they had to pay. The First Amendment does not protect your ability to lie. You can lie, but if you are busted, you must pay the consequences. And then lastly, from Chris, not me, from somebody else, serious case of TDS at this publication / website. I happen to agree with it though. Wasn't for me, but I agree with it. So you media companies, you brought this all on yourself. Don't try to blame Donald Trump for your current state of being attacked and ultimately being abandoned by your viewers. But those are my thoughts. What do you guys have to say about that? Jump down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. All that stuff helps me out. This is Chris Boats signing out, and I will catch you guys in the next video.